All right, the story of Joseph in Egypt continues, but now the story spreads a little bit. Story 20, the first journey of Joseph's brothers. Now when Jacob heard that there was grain available in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you look at one another, wondering what to do? I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go there, buy some for us so we don't starve to death." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went to Egypt to buy corn. Benjamin, Joseph's brother, did not go because Jacob said, "I don't want any mischief to come to him." So the 10 sons of Israel went along with many others from Canaan to buy grain. Benjamin, the youngest of Jacob's son, was actually Joseph's little brother. His mother was Rachel, who had died giving birth to him. And you get a sense here that Jacob, maybe doesn't fully trust his other sons, wanting to keep Benjamin at home with him. And maybe it's not that he doesn't trust his other sons. Maybe it's just he doesn't want anything bad to happen to all of them. And so he keeps Benjamin at home. Since Joseph was the governor over the land and was in charge of selling grain to all who came to buy, Joseph's brothers came and bowed down before him with their faces to the earth. Joseph recognized his brothers, but acted like a stranger and spoke harshly to them, saying, "Where are you from?" "We came from the land of Canaan to buy food," they replied. Joseph remembered the dreams he had about them and said to them, "You are really spies, coming to see how weak our country is." "No, my lord," they said to him, "we only came to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We are honest men, not spies." "No, I don't believe you," he said to them. "You only came to see how weak this country is. We, your servants, are 12 brothers, the sons of one man who lives in the land of Canaan. Our youngest brother stayed with our father, and one is no more." The one that is no more, of course, is Joseph. They have no idea that he is standing there right there in front of them. Now Joseph probably looked totally different. And it has been quite a number of years since they have seen him, and they had no idea what had become of him, but they certainly knew that he would not be a leader among the Egyptians. He may, by this time, very much have looked like an Egyptian, sounded like an Egyptian, so they didn't have a clue who they were actually speaking to. Then Joseph said to them, "I still think you are spies. Here is how I can prove what you are. As Pharaoh lives, you cannot leave until your younger brother comes here. Send one of you to get your brother. The rest of you shall be kept in prison, so that your words may be tested to see if you are telling the truth. If you are lying, as sure as Pharaoh lives, you will be treated as spies." Then he put them all together into prison for 3 days. On the 3rd day Joseph said to them, "Do this and you will live, for I also fear God. If you are honest men, choose one of your brothers to be kept here in prison. The rest of you go. Take grain to feed your families during the famine. Bring your youngest brother to me so you can show me you have told the truth, and you shall not die." They said to one another, "We are really guilty for what we did to our brother. We saw the anguish and grief he suffered. When he begged us, we would not listen. Now we are being punished." For all these years, the guilt of what they had done to Joseph had haunted them, had been with them. One can only imagine the countless times they saw their father Jacob mourning, not having his son Joseph there with him. They knew the truth, but they hid it from Jacob to protect themselves. Reuben reminded them, "Didn't I tell you not to sin against the child? But you wouldn't listen. That's why we're being punished." "Oh yeah, thanks a lot, Reuben. Now you're the great one." Yeah, right. They didn't know that Joseph understood what they were saying because he used an interpreter when he spoke to them. He went away from them and cried. When he returned, he talked with them and took Simeon and had him bound and taken to prison as they watched. So through this all, apparently Joseph is probably speaking in Egyptian, and he's speaking to the brothers through an interpreter. But Joseph can understand what they are saying. They would have been speaking Hebrew, or the language of the land of some of the Canaanites and of their people. It would have been a language that may have been very unfamiliar to the Egyptians, but Joseph knows exactly what they're saying, and for the first time he knows how guilty they have felt for all these years. Then Joseph gave the order to fill their sacks with grain and to put each one's money into the sack. He also gave them food for along the way. All this he did for them. They loaded their donkeys with grain and departed. When one of them opened his sack to feed his donkey at the inn where they stopped, he found his money on top of the grain in the sack. He said to his brothers, "My money has been returned to me. It's here in my sack." They became scared and said to one another, "What has God done to us?" When they came to Jacob, their father in Canaan, they told him everything that had happened to them, including how they had found their money in their sacks of grain. Jacob said to them, "You have caused me a lot of grief. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you will take Benjamin away? Everything bad is happening to me." Reuben said to his father, "You can kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my care, and I will return him to you safe." Reuben, it is so foolish to make promises or to swear oaths in matters that you don't have total control over, to offer the lives of your sons if something should happen. What if there's an accident? What if something happens along the way and he is killed? We have no idea what may happen, and to make such a promise is foolish. And so we get the sense here that perhaps Reuben is trying to establish himself as, "Hey Dad, look what I'm willing to do for you. Trust me, and I'll see that everything is taken care of." Reuben doesn't have a clue. Jacob said, "My son shall not go down with you. His mother is dead. He is the only one left. If something bad happens to him on the way, then you will only bring more gray hairs and sorrow to me and drive me into the grave." Well, the boys are successful. They come home with food, but they also come back with the money that they were supposed to sell the food with. They might well be a little afraid that the Egyptians might accuse them of never having paid for the food and in fact stealing it. They probably don't want to go back there, but their brother is back there, and they don't know what to do. And Jacob's not having anything to do with Reuben's offer. And so for a time, we're not quite sure what may happen. Story 21, the second journey of Joseph's brothers. The famine was severe in the land of Canaan. When they had used all the grain they had brought from Egypt, Israel said to his sons, "Go again, buy us a little food." Then Judah told him, "The man strongly emphasized to us, 'You will not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you are willing to send our brother with us, we will go and buy food for you. But if you won't send him, we won't go, because he said, 'You will not see me unless your brother is with you.'" Then Israel said, "Why did you bring so much trouble on us by telling him you had another brother?" "The man kept asking us about ourselves and our family," they said. "He asked, 'Is your father still alive? Do you have another brother?' We had to answer his questions. How could we know that he would say, 'Bring your brother down to Egypt'?" Then Judah said to Israel his father, "Send the boy with me. We will go so that we and our families may live and not die. I will guarantee his safety. You can hold me responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you, let me bear the blame forever. If we had not waited so long, we could have made 2 trips by now." Then Israel said to them, "If it must be like this, do this. Take some of the best fruits in the land in your containers. Take along presents for the man, a little balm, a little honey, some spices, myrrh, nuts, and almonds. Also take along twice as much money as you think you'll need. Take the money that was returned to you in your sacks. Maybe there was some mistake. Take along your brother. Go again to the man. May God Almighty give you mercy before him, so that he may send back your other brother and Benjamin. If I grieve for my children, I grieve." So Judah steps up. Judah, I believe the 4th of Jacob or Israel's sons. But Judah, a special character, because it will ultimately be from the descendants of Judah that the Christ child is to come. So from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob or Israel, and then through Judah and his descendants, the Christ child will come. And notice how Judah doesn't promise a life of his children. He simply tells his father, I will take responsibility, kind of promising to do his best, and offering that if something goes wrong, he will bear the blame forever. It's kind of interesting. It will actually be one of his descendants, Jesus, who will actually bear the blame and the guilt and the shame of all sins when he carries them all to the cross. But Israel, Jacob, finally says, "Okay, take along some gifts, take along the money from last time, and may God help us." So the brothers took the presents, twice the money they needed, in Benjamin, and traveled to Egypt and appeared before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with him, he said to the ruler of his house, "Bring these men to my home, butcher an animal and prepare a meal. These men will eat with me at noon." The man did as Joseph told him and took the men to Joseph's house. What must have been going through their mind? They were afraid when they were taken to Joseph's house. They said, "It must be because of the money that was in our sacks the first time we returned that we were being brought here. He is looking for an opportunity to make us slaves and to take our animals." When they came to the door of Joseph's house, they talked with the steward and said, "Sir, the first time we came to buy food, we came to an inn on our return trip. And to our surprise, when we opened our sacks, we found every man's money in his sack. We took the money back with us. We have brought extra money along to buy food. We don't know who put the money in our sacks." Well, I guess at least they're confessing, and they are telling the truth. That's good. He said to them, probably through an interpreter again, so they can't understand him. They still have no idea who he is. "Peace be to you. Don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you the treasure in your sacks. I received your money when you paid." Then he brought Simeon to them and had all of them come into Joseph's house. When Joseph came home, they brought him their presents and bowed down to him. He asked them how old they were. Then he asked, "Is your father well?" He said, "He is very old." "Is he still alive?" Your servant, our father, is in good health," they answered. "He is still alive." Then they bowed down again to show their respect. Joseph looked up and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son, and said, "Is this your younger brother whom you spoke about?" Then he continued, "God be gracious to you, my son." Joseph had to find a place where he could be by himself. He had so missed his brother that he needed a place to cry. He went into his bedroom and wept there. After he washed his face, he went out, and controlling himself said, "Serve the food." They served him and the Egyptians who ate with him separately, because for the Egyptians it was an abomination to eat with Hebrews. The brothers sat down according to their age, the oldest to the youngest. They marveled at how they were being treated. Joseph sent special foods from his table to them, but Benjamin's portions were 5 times more than any his brothers received. They all drank and feasted with him. Some strange goings on this second visit by the brothers, by Jacob's sons, to Egypt. And here they find themselves in the house of this Egyptian leader, one of the top men in the entire government over all of the famine-related issues. They're fearful. They have elements of guilt. They're not sure what may happen. And so the stage is set for our next story, in which Joseph will finally make himself known to the brothers. We can begin to think, I wonder how that will make the brothers feel. I wonder what their reaction might be.